Yeah. Subscribe to the channel. The missionary regains consciousness in his own funeral. Upon hearing his husband and his lover, Paulina lay still in her coffin, her consciousness still murky. She could not move. It was as if she emerged from the depths of a deep sleep. But she could hear a terrifying dialogue. While the lovers continued to exchange words loaded with tension and desire, Paulina began to slowly regain consciousness within the coffin. His ears captured fragments of the conversations, the familiar voices now mixed with the burning whispers of Sergio and Sofia. Sergio, I can't stand this wait anymore. We need to end this once and for all. I know, my dear, but we need to be patient. If something goes wrong, our whole plan will come down. Sofia insisted, but she is already dead, Sergio. Why can't we just speed things up? Sergio said, we must be clever, Sofia. We can't take risks. Paulina's death must seem natural, a tragic accident. Only then can we enjoy her fortune together, without leaving a trace. But how much longer are we going to wait, Sergio? We are already so close to the final goal. We can't just leave everything behind. Questioned Sofia. Sergio replied, I understand your agony, Sofia, but we need to be patient. Soon everything will be ours, but we cannot risk it all now. Sofia continued, do you promise this will go well, Sergio? Do you promise we will be happy together, without worries? Sergio said, I promise, my love, nothing will stop us. We are destined to have a life of luxury and pleasure, and soon it will be a reality. While she was still in the darkness of the coffin, Paulina felt trapped not only by wood and cloth, but by a network of lies and betrayals that unfolded before her attentive ears. Each word exchanged between Sergio and Sofia was like a knife perforating her already injured heart, causing an indescribable pain that resonated throughout her being. How could I be so naive? How could I trust someone who planned my death? Paulina was asked in an internal dialogue full of bitterness and incredulity. The memories of moments shared with Sergio, now stained by betrayal, tormented her like ghosts of the past, dragging her into an abyss of despair and disappointment. Each deafening whisper of Sergio and every melancholy word of Sofia resonated as silent accusations in her tortured mind. They betrayed me. They planned my death to seize my fortune. Paulina murmured to herself. Sofia, with her eyes shining with a burning lust, said, I can't wait for all this to end, Sergio. I can't wait to bury Paulina once and for all and finally be together without more worries. Soon, my love, soon everything will be resolved and we will be free to enjoy our love without restrictions. Sergio speaking, her eyes shining with an insatiable greed for the money of Paulina and Sofia's body. The continuation, I imagine the moment when the coffin descends to the earth, Sofia. It will be like the end of a nightmare and the beginning of our real life together. Sofia felt, yes, it will be a relief to finally get rid of that burden called Paulina. And then, nothing can separate us, she said, her voice resonating with the certainty of imminent triumph. While lovers exchanged words loaded with complicity and desire, Paulina listened to each syllable with a mixture of repulsion and determination. Each promise of love between Sergio and Sofia was like a sharp knife nailed to her chest, feeding her will to fight against those who conspired against her. Then, Paulina began to feel that someone was raising the coffin. While the cemetery staff were preparing for the final moment, one of them issued a clear and firm instruction, hold this side. Paulina felt a cold step through her spine when she realized that the coffin was slowly descending towards the prepared tomb. A feeling of claustrophobia began to spread around Paulina, her heart beating uncontrollably against her chest while she was fighting against the feeling of asphyxia. Each crackle of the mechanism that came down the coffin was like an echo of her own mortality, a vivid reminder that her life was hanging from a thread. While the cemetery employees continued their dark work, Sergio and Sophia observed with a mixture of anxiety and emotion. His eyes fixed on the coffin that was descending slowly to the ground. "It is almost time, my love," said Sergio to Sophia. "Yes, we will soon be free to live our lives together, without further worries," she replied, her voice trembling with the emotion of the imminent moment. Once Paulina's coffin was almost completely covered by the ground, Sergio and Sophia decided to leave, convinced that their plan had been executed successfully. With a look of exchangeable satisfaction among them, the lovers moved away from the tomb, their steps loaded with relief and triumph. Sergio smiled at Sophia, full of satisfaction. "We can finally leave this behind. It is done," he said. Sophia, with her eyes shining with expectations of better days, answered, "Yes, it is done. Now we can concentrate on our future together." While the lovers were moving away, the cemetery employees continued their dark work, throwing earth on Paulina's coffin with a silent determination. The muted sound of the straws was mixed with the whisper of the nocturnal breeze, creating an atmosphere of farewell and purpose. As the coffin was increasingly covered by the fresh earth, a feeling of despair began to infiltrate Paulina's thoughts. He knew that the time was running out, that he would soon be completely buried under tons of cold and dark earth. But he could not move or scream. Every gram that fell on the coffin was like a final sigh of freedom that he desperately longed for. However, despite the fact that his mind was crying for help, his mouth remained sealed, unable to emit a sound. He could only think, "Oh God, give me strength." His words a weak echo in the void of the coffin. "Allow me to live to see the light of the sun again, to touch the firm ground under my feet." His heart, tightened by anguish and fear, lay uncontrolled in his chest while seeking consolation and help from God. "Protect me, Lord, and allow me to remain alive." While the earth continued to accumulate on the coffin, Pauline sought to find peace in her faith. "Strengthen me, O God, so that I may resist this test. May your will be done." With supreme effort, Paulina felt a wave of energy through her body, defying the paralysis that kept her motionless. With fierce determination, she concentrated all her strength in her hands, feeling an overwhelming sensation of life return to them. With a trembling expectation, her fingers were slowly bent, searching for grip on the coffin wood. With trembling hands, Paulina began to use her nails to desperately scratch the inside of the coffin, each scratch marking an act of resistance against the fate that awaited her. While Paulina was fighting against the coffin with her nails, one of the cemetery employees perceived a subtle sound resonating from the grave. With the senses agitated by the strange occurrence, she frowned, his ears capturing the disturbing sound. "Did you hear that?" he murmured, burdened with concern and confusion, to his closest colleague, without understanding what was happening. His partner analyzed the environment in search of any sign of unusual activity. "As such, I heard it. It seems that it comes from the coffin," he replied with a tense whisper in the night air. With a mixture of apprehension and curiosity, the two employees approached the grave, his minds full of speculations about the origin of the mysterious sound. The silence around was palpable, interrupted only by the sound of the ground being thrown on the coffin. With a determined gesture, one of the employees approached the coffin. "We have to verify what is happening," he told his colleague. With a tense sigh, the two employees prepared to open the coffin, with their minds full of fears about what they could find inside. But, despite the uncertainty that surrounded them, they knew that they could not ignore the disturbing sound that came from the grave, a call to action that they could not avoid. With trembling hands, the cemetery employees lifted the coffin lid, revealing a scene that defied all expectations. To their surprise and amazement, there was Paulina, pale and fragile, but indisputably alive. A deafening silence fell on them as they absorbed the magnitude of the discovery. One of the employees, with his eyes wide open and unable to believe what he was witnessing, spoke extremely perplexed. "My God, he is alive." The other employee remained paralyzed for a moment, with his thoughts confused and tormented. How? How is it possible?" He stuttered, his mind struggling to process reality before his incredible eyes. Paulina looked at them, her fragile eyes shining with a mixture of gratitude and weakness. "Please help me," she implored, her voice a weak and trembling whisper. She extended a trembling hand towards the employees, a gesture of desperation and necessity. With the hearts accelerated by emotion and shock, the employees hurried to help Paulina, lifting her carefully from the coffin and wrapping her in blankets to keep her warm. Each movement was done carefully. Aware of the fragility of the woman they had miraculously found alive inside the grave. While they took care of Paulina, the employees exchanged incredible and relieving looks. While the employees took Paulina away from the grave, a feeling of admiration enveloped them. They knew they had witnessed something extraordinary, a true miracle that they would never forget. After the initial shock of the discovery of Paulina Viva inside the coffin, one of them took the initiative to act. "We need to call the police immediately," he declared firmly. "You are right, this goes beyond our ability to handle it." The second employee agreed. While one of the employees took out his cell phone to call the authorities, the other remained next to Paulina, making sure she was comfortable and safe. "It's okay, ma'am. The help is on the way," she gently said, her words loaded with compassion and solidarity. Paulina looked at him with gratitude in her weak eyes, but she denied with her head determined. "No, I don't want to involve the police," she said, although she lacked the strength to express herself, but decided they tried to kill me. "No one can know that I am alive. Do you need medical attention? What if we go to the emergency room?" "I don't want to go. They will end up finding out that I am alive." Despite the prayers of the employees and the insistence on their concern, Paulina was still firm in her decision not to go to the police station or the doctor. While the employees were trying to find a solution for the impasse, one of them had an idea. "Wait a moment, I know a nurse who lives near the cemetery. He can help us," he suggested, his mind illuminated with the possibility of finding an alternative solution. The eyes of the other employees were illuminated with hope by agreeing with the suggestion given by the colleague, seeing it as an opportunity to ensure that Paulina received the assistance she needed without involving the police. Admitting that this could be a good idea, they agreed to try to get in touch with Ernesto. With the decision made, the employees quickly contacted the nurse, explaining the situation and requesting her help. Ernesto, the nurse, listened carefully while the employees described the surprising discovery of Paulina still alive inside the coffin. His expression turned into a mixture of shock and compassion when listening to the story, and he agreed immediately to provide assistance. "Of course, I'm on my way," Ernesto responded urgently, his mind already working quickly to plan the best way to help Paulina. "But we need to keep this a secret. We cannot risk that this information spreads until we are sure of what is happening." With a deep expression of gratitude, Paulina looked at Ernesto. Her eyes reflected relief and recognition that she could not express in words. "Thank you, Ernesto. I don't know how I can thank you enough for what you are doing for me." Ernesto replied, "You don't need to thank me, Paulina. I'm just doing my job as a nurse and as a human being. You deserve all the care and support we can offer." Ernesto looked at Paulina with evident concern in his eyes, reflecting on the best way to take care of her in the most effective way possible. "Paulina, I know it may seem strange, but maybe it's better for you to stay at my house for a while. You can't go back to your own house now, and here you will have all the care and attention you need," suggested him. Polina considered Ernesto's proposal with a mixture of surprise and gratitude. Recognizing the logic behind his words, "I understand. Maybe it's the best for me at this moment," she agreed, her voice reflecting her confidence in Ernesto's decision. Ernesto felt relieved when he saw Polina's acceptance. "Great. I will take care of all the arrangements so that you can settle in my house comfortably. You will have everything you need there, and I will be close to help in whatever is necessary," he promised. Polina feeling grateful for Ernesto's concern and care. "Thank you, Ernesto. I'm sure I'll be in good hands with you," she said, with sincerity reflected in his words. With a feeling of overwhelming gratitude in his heart, Polina turned to the cemetery employees, her expression reflecting the deep appreciation she felt. "Thank you very much for everything you have done for me. Without your help, I do not know if I would have survived tonight," she said with great gratitude in her face. The employees solemnly praised her, his own expressions marked by gratitude and relief when seeing Polina healthy and safe. "It was an honor to be able to help you, Polina. We are simply happy to have found you in time," one of them answered, with sincerity in your words. "Please know that I will never forget the kindness and compassion that you have had with me," he said with emotion. "You are true heroes in my salvation. Polina, please take care and stay safe. We will be waiting for you on your way to recovery," wished another employee, his words full of sincerity and genuine desire for happiness for her. After saying goodbye to the cemetery employees, Polina turned to Ernesto, finding him with a gentle and supportive look. He opened the door of the car for her to enter, offering her a gesture of silent support. While Ernesto was preparing a comforting meal in the kitchen, Polina took the opportunity to tell them about the events that led her to be buried alive. While they were waiting for Ernesto's arrival, the employees remained by Polina's side, offering her comfort and support in the distressing situation. Each moment was an agony of uncertainty, but they remained firm in their commitment to help the woman who had been buried alive. Finally, Ernesto arrived, his presence bringing a palpable relief to all present. He approached Polina and said, "I'm going to take care of you, Polina. You're safe with me." I was alone at home, and suddenly I started to feel a strong dizziness. He explained, his voice still a little weak. "I fainted, and when I woke up, I was inside that coffin, unable to move or scream." Ernesto listened carefully and said, "My God, what a terrible experience you have had. It relieves me to have been able to find you in time. But now it's time to take care of you and make sure you recover completely." After making sure Polina was comfortable and fed, Ernesto began to approach what had happened. "Polina, I need you to tell me everything you know about what happened. I want to help you find out who did this to you and guarantee your safety." Polina looked at Ernesto. His eyes expressed a mixture of gratitude and hesitation. "Ernesto, I don't know much more than what I have already told you," he admitted, his voice full of frustration and fear. "Everything happened so fast, and I'm still trying to understand how I survived. I understand, Polina, but we need to be proactive to make sure this doesn't happen again." He emphasized his serious expression. "I will investigate discreetly and take all the necessary measures to protect you." "Thank you, Ernesto. I trust you to take care of me," she said, with a feeling of relief. Polina allowed herself to relax in the comforting presence of Ernesto, knowing that she was in good hands. The next day, Ernesto went to the hospital where he worked, his mind boiling with thoughts about how to discover the truth behind what happened to Polina. While he walked through the family corridors of the hospital, greeting colleagues and patients with a smile, he kept his senses alert, looking for any indication of suspicious activity. He discreetly began to ask subtle questions to his colleagues at work. carefully not raising suspicions. He looked into any recent death that might seem unusual or suspicious. While Ernesto continued his search for clues in the hospital, a colleague approached him, scared and worried. "Ernesto, you won't believe what I just heard. It's terrifying. A millionaire woman died recently here in the hospital. They say it was a cardiac arrest, but something seems strange to me." She was struggling to process everything she had heard. "That's interesting," he reacted with an intriguing tone. "Do you have more details about that woman and her death?" "Yes, her name was Paulina Fontes. She was a very successful businesswoman and was recently hospitalized here in the hospital with symptoms of discomfort," she explained. "They say she had a sudden collapse and died before the doctors could do anything." Ernesto felt a chill throughout his spine when he heard the name Paulina Fontes, a knot forming in his stomach before the disturbing coincidence. He tried to hide his surprise and nervousness while answering his colleague. "It's something strange," said with a carefully controlled voice, Paulina Fontes. "A sad situation. In fact, it seems that fate can be unpredictable sometimes." The colleague observed Ernesto with a perplexed expression. It seemed to detect something unusual in his reaction. "Are you okay, Ernesto? You seem a little disturbed," he asked. "I'm fine," he answered evasively, with his head working frantically to process the new information he had just received. While he was trying to maintain a calm and controlled appearance, Ernesto knew he needed to act cautiously. He kept the information about Paulina Fontes' death in his mind, determined to investigate more thoroughly when he had the opportunity. But for the moment, he needed to maintain his real hidden agenda, protecting Paulina and discovering the truth behind the mysterious events that were happening around her. Decided to discover more about the connection between Paulina Fontes and the recent events, Ernesto patiently waited for the right time to access the patient records. While examining Paulina's medical records, a crucial piece of the puzzle began to fit. Ernesto felt a wave of determination grow within him while writing the name of Sergio Bastos, aware that this discovery could be the key to unravel the mystery surrounding Paulina and her alleged death. He called his cousin, Renato, who was a private detective, hoping he could offer a valuable guidance. "Hello, Renato, it's me, Ernesto. I need your help on a delicate matter," said Ernesto, his voice loaded with seriousness and urgency. Renato, on the other side of the line, listened carefully while Ernesto explained the situation, describing the disturbing events that had led to the discovery of Paulina Fontes buried alive and the suspected death of Paulina Fontes. "That is quite mysterious," Renato replied, reflecting the interest in solving this absurd case. "It seems that you have run into something much bigger than you imagined. But don't worry, I'm available to help in whatever is necessary." Ernesto sighed relieved when he heard Renato's willingness to help, trying to calm down when he found out that he would have a reliable ally in this search for the truth. "Thanks, Renato. Your experience as a detective will be invaluable in this investigation." He expressed his evident gratitude in his voice. The two cousins spent the following minutes discussing strategies and plans to advance with the investigation, sharing ideas and insights while trying to unravel the mystery that surrounded them. "I'm going to start collecting information about Sergio Bastos and investigate his past in search of any clue that can lead us to a conclusion," Renato said, with determination. Ernesto agreed with what Renato proposed, feeling strengthened by the association with his cousin. "Meanwhile, I will continue monitoring the developments in the hospital and keeping an eye on the surroundings. We need to be meticulous in our approach and be prepared for any eventuality," he concluded, imagining how serious the situation was. With a plan and a team formed, Ernesto and Renato committed to unwaveringly pursue the truth, determined to unravel the dark secrets that surrounded Paulina Fontes and her apparently premature death. When returning home, Ernesto found Paulina waiting with a mixture of anxiety and curiosity. "Paulina, We need to work together to solve this. Ernesto made it clear that his collaboration would be of great importance to understand this shocking entanglement, and added more. My cousin, Renato, is a private detective and has agreed to help us, but she needs all the possible information to understand the case. I'm ready to cooperate in everything necessary, she replied. I need you to tell me everything you know about your husband, Sergio Bastos. Any information could be crucial to help Renato connect the dots and discover the truth behind all this. Paulina and Sergio had met 2 years ago. Paulina was at a party, surrounded by laughter and lively conversations, when Sofia approached her. A radiant smile illuminated her face. Paulina, let me introduce you to a friend of mine, she said. This is Sergio. We were classmates at the university. It is a pleasure to meet you, Paulina, he said, being kind and charming. Sofia has told me a lot about you. Paulina smiled shyly, feeling instantly attracted by the magnetic presence of Sergio. The pleasure is mine, Sergio, she replied, excited to meet him. While they were talking, Sergio shared details of his life and career, revealing himself as the owner of a successful chain of clothing stores. His passion for the world of fashion was evident in every word he said, captivating Paulina's attention with his contagious and enthusiastic energy. Paulina felt like her heart was beating faster while she listened to Sergio talk about his dreams and achievements. She admired his determination and ambition, finding herself increasingly enchanted by his captivating presence and enveloping charisma. As the night progressed, Paulina and Sergio were immersed in an animated conversation and full of connection. Time seemed to disappear around them, leaving them lost in their own world of laughter and shared smiles. When the party came to an end, Paulina felt a sense of euphoria and emotion to take over her. She knew, without a doubt, that she had found someone special in Sergio, someone who could change her life forever. Paulina, I can't wait any longer. I know it's early, but I feel like I know you, as if I had known you for a long time. He said, speaking with all my heart, I want to spend the rest of my life by your side. Paulina Fontes, accept to be my girlfriend. Sergio's words were suspended in the air, loaded with meaning, and promises of a bright future together. Paulina was moved by Sergio's statement, her mind full of happiness and acceptance. Sergio, I accept with all the love in the world, she replied, radiant with happiness, understanding the moment as unique and extraordinary. I promise to love you and take care of you every day of my life. Paulina, he said in a soft and comforting way. This is just the beginning of our day together, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for us. I can't wait either, Sergio, she replied, already delighted and excited. I'm anxious to share every moment with you and build a future full of love and happiness together. Paulina was radiant with happiness when she met her friend Sofia in a cozy cafe. With a contagious smile, she shared the latest news about her relationship with Sergio. Sofia, I'm so happy. Sergio and I are officially dating, she said, more radiant than ever. He is incredible, and I can't believe how lucky I am to have him by my side. That's wonderful, Paulina. I'm so happy for you, said Sofia, showing all her support. Sergio seems to be an incredible man, and I'm sure they're destined to have a bright future together. It's really special, Sofia, and it makes me feel so loved and valued. She shared with a loving smile, illuminating her face. I am so excited to see what the future holds for us. You deserve all the happiness in the world, Paulina, and I'm sure your relationship with Sergio will be full of incredible moments and precious memories, she mentioned with conviction and joy. Enjoy every moment by his side and let love guide you on your journey together. Thank you for always being here for me, Sofia. Your friendship means a lot to me, she expressed, emotional and grateful. I couldn't ask for a better friend to share my happiness. Sophia smiled warmly at Paulina and said, I will always be here for you, Paulina, and I'm anxious to witness the love and happiness that you and Sergio will share together, she transmitted lovingly. May this new chapter in your life be full of love, laughs, and endless adventures. 6 months passed since the beginning of Paulina and Sergio's relationship, and their love only grew every day. Finally, the long-awaited moment, the wedding, arrived. The ceremony was a true fairy tale, with Paulina radiant in her wedding dress and Sergio radiating happiness by her side. Sophia, Paulina's confidant and now her lady of honor, was excited to witness the union of the couple. His heart was filled with emotion. He exchanged eyes full of love with Sergio, and in his eyes he saw the reflection of the future that they planned together. You are amazing, Sergio confessed, loving and attentive. I love you more than words can express. Paulina smiled radiant and said, and I love you more than anything, Sergio. Today is the beginning of our journey together, and I could not be happier to share it with you. As the ceremony progressed, Paulina and Sergio exchanged their eternal love vows, promising to take care of each other in health and illness, wealth and poverty. Each word was loaded with meaning, reflecting the deep love and commitment they shared. In the end, they kissed with passion, sealing their love in front of their loved ones. Sophia watched with tears in her eyes, excited to see the radiant happiness printed on Paulina and Sergio's faces. They are really made for each other, she said to the couple. Paulina told all this information to Ernesto and remembered the cruel words she had heard from Sergio and Sophia while she was trapped in the coffin. I never imagined they would be able to do this, Ernesto, Paulina said with a heavy sigh, her voice loaded with sadness and incredulity. Sergio and Sophia were the people I trusted the most, and now I discover that they planned my death. It's as if my world had collapsed. I know it's hard to understand, Paulina, but you're not alone. I'm here to help you overcome it and discover the truth behind this terrible act of betrayal, he replied with compassion and delicacy. The tears sprang out in Paulina's eyes as she revived the cruel words she had heard from Sergio and Sophia while she was trapped in the coffin. They spoke as if my death was just a detail in their diabolical plan, she assured. Taken by pain and indignation, I feel betrayed, Ernesto. Betrayed by the man she loved and by the friend she trusted. You were the victim of a terrible betrayal, Paulina. But we are going to discover the truth and make sure that those who try to hurt you are responsible for their actions. He promised the confirmation. Thank you, Ernesto. I don't know what I would do without you by my side. He hugged him tightly. We're going to find the truth together and make sure that justice is done. The detective, after receiving the information from Ernesto, began to follow Sergio's steps, determined to discover the truth behind Paulina's death. He observed discreetly while Sergio and Sophia planned to move to a new house, a luxurious mansion that reflected the fortune they now enjoyed. While he watched them from afar, the detective captured fragments of their conversations, confirming his suspicions about his complicity. Finally, we can live as we always dreamed, Sophia, said Sergio, his smile radiant with satisfaction. 2 years seemed like an eternity, but it was worth it for all this. Sophia felt, yes, my love, now we can leave the past behind and focus on our future together, she agreed. While watching the scene, the detective felt the rage bubbling inside him, indignant by the audacity of Sergio and Sophia when celebrating Paulina's death. He was determined to expose them and make sure they paid for what they did. With a determined look, the detective noted everything he heard and took pictures to gather evidence against the malevolent couple. He would not rest until justice was done in the name of Paulina and the truth. With all the meticulously gathered evidence, the detective and Ernesto concluded that it was time to act. Determined to seek justice for Paulina, they went to her house, where they found her anxiously waiting for the outcome of this sinister plot. "Paulina, it's time to take the next step," the detective confirmed, determinedly, while looking at her seriously. Paulina looked at the detective and Ernesto, a mixture of apprehension and hope shining in their eyes. "I'm ready to face it," she answered with security, but with the tension of the imminent moment. "We cannot allow Sergio and Sofia to escape impunity for their crimes. We are by your side, Paulina. We will make sure that these criminals are responsible for their actions," Ernesto assured. Together, they headed to the police station, each step closer to the inevitable confrontation with Sergio and Sofia. The detective was determined, his mind working frenetically to draw the perfect strategy to expose the truth. "I'm ready to put an end to this farce once and for all," she declared to herself, his voice a firm whisper of determination. With a heavy heart, but the eyes fixed on the final objective, the trio arrived at the police station, ready to report the horrendous crimes of Sergio and Sofia and make sure they paid for what they had done to Paulina. Upon entering the police station, they were received by the shift police, whose perps look immediately captured the seriousness of the situation. "What can we do for you today?" asked the police officer, his serious expression indicating his willingness to face any problem that arose. The detective took the initiative, presenting the meticulously collected evidence that indicated the attempted murder of Paulina by Sergio and Sofia. He explained each detail of the sordid plan that they had discovered, highlighting the seriousness of the crimes committed by the two. While the detective presented the evidence, Paulina observed, feeling a whirlwind of emotions running through his mind. The truth was finally being revealed, and it was decided not to let his aggressors escape impunes. The commissioner listened carefully to the detective's revelations, his expression hardening with every dark detail that was revealed. He seriously understood the importance of acting quickly to ensure that justice was done. The commissioner immediately took measures to start an official investigation into the activities of Sergio and Sofia. He promised that they would be found and responsible for the horrible crimes they had committed. Upon leaving the commissioner, Paulina felt a huge weight rising from her shoulders. Finally, the truth was coming out, and she was one step closer to finding peace and justice. With her renewed determination, she prepared to face the next chapter of this day of redemption and revenge. Paulina could not sleep that night. She was so thirsty for justice that in the morning she dressed and went to the mansion where Sergio and Sofia were living. Paulina arrived at the imposing mansion of Sergio, her heart beating strongly in her chest while preparing for the long-awaited confrontation. When the door opened, revealing the surprising figure of Sergio, Paulina felt a mixture of triumph and fury bubbling within her. "Sergio, you faced it with courage and determination. Did you think you could get rid of me so easily? Did you think you would not come back to claim what is mine?" Sergio, paralyzed by shock and confusion, muttered in response, "Paulina, this cannot be real. You were dead. I was at your funeral. How can you be here?" Paulina did not flinch at Sergio's reaction, her eyes nailed to him with ferocious intensity. "You should have assured that the job was well done, Sergio. But now I am here to demand answers and justice." Sergio struggled to find words, his thoughts spinning under the weight of the shocking revelation before him. "But how did you survive?" he asked, worried about understanding the urgency of the situation. Paulina, without taking a step back, replied calmly and implacably, "That is something you will have to discover, but you know that I will not rest until you and your accomplice, Sofia, pay for what they did." As the two faced each other at the entrance of the mansion, the tension between them was palpable. Sergio faced the horror of his crimes being exposed to the light. "Paulina, please. We need to talk. Can I explain?" he began, his words sounding like a desperate roar in the middle of the chaos that was developing before him. Paulina, however, was not willing to hear empty excuses or superficial explanations. Explain. Do you think there is any acceptable explanation to try to kill me? Sergio, to bury me alive and steal my fortune. He replied, resonating with the ferocity of his indignation. Paulina, I swear it wasn't like that. I was manipulated. Sophia convinced me that it was the only way to have a better life together. I was desperate. I didn't know what to do. She admitted, her words loaded with guilt and remorse. Did you really expect me to believe that? That your betrayal and greed would be excused with some empty words? You are a coward, Sergio, and you will pay for your crimes, she declared, with a cutting tone like a sharp knife of the justice he sought. Sophia heard the echoes of the discussion coming from the living room, and when entering the room, her eyes opened in shock and horror as she witnessed the scene in front of her. A sharp scream escaped from Sophia's lips. My God, Paulina, what? How are you alive? Exclaimed, his words a mixture of incredulity and fear. Paulina faced Sophia with a burning expression, with the intensity of the fire of justice. Did you think you could get rid of me so easily, Sophia? Did you think I wouldn't discover your betrayals and lies? You and Sergio can no longer hide. His hours are numbered, he pronounced, each word cutting like a sharp knife. Paulina, please, we can talk, we can solve this somehow. She tried, with her trembling and desperate words. There is nothing to talk about, Sophia. You made your choice, and now you will have to face the consequences. Get ready for what is coming, she declared, with sharp words in the tense air. Paulina, please, you need to listen to me. Sergio seduced me, manipulated me, forced me to do this, I swear, she implored. Do you expect me to believe that cheap excuse, Sophia? You were an accomplice of a horrible betrayal, and now you try to hide behind Sergio's lies, she replied, bitterly and distrustfully. I know I made mistakes, Paulina, but you need to understand, I was scared, I didn't know what to do, she confessed. Fear is not an excuse to betray a friendship, Sophia. You chose your path. Now you will have to face the consequences, she declared. Sergio looked at Paulina and said, Paulina, you cannot believe it. It was Sophia who seduced me, who manipulated this whole situation. She convinced me that you were an obstacle for our future together, he exclaimed, full of lies and falsehood. Sergio and Sophia looked at each other with eyes loaded with mutual accusations, each one trying to blame the other for the cunning plot that almost cost Paulina her life. From the beginning you knew this was crazy, Sophia. You manipulated me and forced me to move on with this insensitive plan, said Sergio. You can't blame me, Sergio. You knew very well what you were doing. You were the one who convinced me that we needed to eliminate Paulina to be together, she retouched. Sergio shook his head with incredulity, his voice loaded with contempt. You've always been the mind behind all this, Sophia. Don't try to make yourself the victim now. You knew I'd do anything for you, even commit a crime, he accused him. Sophia responded with a bitter laugh, her expression twisted in contempt. Do you really think so, Sergio? You are so naive. I was the one who seduced you, who manipulated you to do what I wanted. You are nothing more than a puppet in my hands. She provoked, her words as sharp knives. Sergio squeezed his fists, furious. You will not get out of this impunable, Sophia. If you want to play dirty, you will have to face the consequences. I will no longer be your puppet, he threatened, his indestructible determination against the... Sophia looked at him with a sadistic smile, her expression revealing the true nature of her villainy. Let's see who comes out victorious in the end, Sergio. I will not make it easy for you, she challenged, her voice resonating the promise of a final confrontation between two villains willing to do anything to achieve their goals. Paulina watched the discussion in silence, her gaze going through the conflict between the man who was once her husband and the woman who she considered her friend. A wave of shock swept through his body when he realized the true nature of both. They were not only people with whom he shared happy moments, but dishonest, manipulative, and malicious beings. Suddenly, Sergio and Sophia's gazes turned abruptly towards Paulina, as if a flame of curiosity had been lit within them. "How are you here?" Sergio exclaimed. "We must be buried with our own eyes." Sophia, on her part, said, "This does not make sense. You must tell us what really happened. How did you escape that grave?" Paulina felt a chill run through her spine while looking at the couple in front of her. "No, I don't know," she said, struggling to control the anxiety that threatened to consume her. "The last thing I remember is waking up inside that coffin without knowing how I got there." His expression becoming more intense. "This cannot be true," he insisted, his voice now teeming with irritation. "You must be hiding something. Nobody simply resurrects from among the dead. Both will pay for what they did," she declared firmly, his words resonating with a silent resolution. "You may not fully understand what happened, but I know I was on the brink of death because of you. And now that I'm alive, I will do everything possible to ensure that justice is done." "You cannot prove anything," replied Sergio, desperate and fearful. "We did nothing wrong." Sophia quickly felt, "It is true. You have no evidence against us. You are only making empty accusations." Paulina did not go back to her denial and said, "I have many evidence against you." Then Sophia replied, "You are not going to ruin our lives." She grabbed Paulina by the arm and tried to drag her into the house. Paulina and Sophia argued furiously. The screams echoed in the air. As the discussion continued, one of the neighbors, alerted by the noise and screams, decided to call the police. Shortly after, the sirens of the patrols resounded on the street, and the police approached the scene of the confrontation. The police knocked on the door of the mansion and were shocked to find Paulina surrounded by the two, clearly in danger. Without a doubt, they intervened quickly to free her, and they contained Sergio and Sophia, who tried to resist desperately. "You will not end our life," said Sophia, taken by anger and affliction, while trying to pull Paulina back into the house. Sergio's eyes shone with determination as he fought against the police, his desire to eliminate Paulina evident in his frantic gestures. The situation was at the brink of a dangerous outcome when the police managed to stop Sergio and Sophia, exposing them and taking them under custody. Paulina breathed relief when she saw the arrival of reinforcements, her determination to seek justice now stronger than ever. With Sergio and Sophia finally under police custody, the sensation of relief flooded Paulina. She felt a weight removed from her shoulders, knowing that she was one step closer to reaching the justice she was looking for. Ernesto, by his side during all this turbulence, offered firm and comforting support. Together, they left for the hospital, where Paulina could receive the necessary care after the terrible confrontation. Meanwhile, the police took Sergio and Sophia to jail, where they would face serious accusations for the crimes they committed. Justice finally began to unfold, bringing a sense of relief and satisfaction to Paulina and Ernesto. Paulina was determined to move forward with courage and determination. On the day of the trial, the courtroom was loaded with tension and expectation. Paulina, accompanied by Ernesto, anxiously awaited the verdict that would determine the fate of Sergio and Sophia. The judge, in a solemn hearing, pronounced the verdict after carefully reviewing all the evidence and arguments presented, firmly declared, "Based on the evidence presented and the testimonies heard, this court considers Sergio and Sophia guilty of crimes of attempted murder and conspiracy." A solemn silence continued as the judge continued. Therefore, he sentenced them to years in prison, without the possibility of conditional freedom, for the terrible acts they committed against Paulina Fontes. The news was received with a mixture of relief and justice. Paulina felt a weight removed from her shoulders when she heard the verdict, knowing that she could finally continue with her life, free of the fear and oppression that Sergio and Sofia had inflicted on her. As they left the court, the climate of relief was palpable between Paulina and Ernesto. In the midst of the crowd, they found a moment of tranquility to exchange some words. Paulina said to Ernesto, "Thanks for everything, Ernesto. Without you, I don't know if I would have had the strength to face all this." Ernesto replied, "You don't need to thank Paulina. I was by your side because I wanted to. See how you overcame all this with so much courage and determination. It was inspiring." Paulina said, "You have always been there for me since the first day. It is strange how, in the midst of so much darkness, love can arise." Ernesto said, "It is true, sometimes they are in the most difficult moments that we find the true connections." Paulina felt that her heart beat faster and said, "I do not know what it would be like without you, Ernesto. You are a light in the middle of darkness." Ernesto answered, "And you, Paulina, you are the strongest and bravest person I have ever met. I am here for you no matter what." Paulina asked, "So, what do you think if we start a new chapter together?" Ernesto answered, "I would love you to be my wife, Paulina. Together, we can face anything. I also want that, Ernesto. I can't imagine my life without you by my side." She responded, excited. Enveloped by the emotion of the moment, Paulina and Ernesto shared a comforting hug, thus sealing a new beginning in their lives, ready to face any challenge that fate will face, united by love and the determination to build a better future. If you like this story, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support is crucial so that we can continue to share wonderful stories like this. We appreciate your support.